It's great to be here at this Thought Leader event in concert with the Europas Awards, because these smaller, intimate events are kind of when the magic happens. You get founders and investors and experts in their field, like a thought leader, to be able to tease out the subjects that founders and startups face at the moment, especially this year, in this era, when things have changed so radically. I'm going to ask Tamara first of all, because we were sort of brainstorming the idea for this session, and what's your definition of thought leadership?
Thought leadership is really the new kid on the marketing block, right? So many marketers are trying to figure out, what is thought leadership? What does it mean for my marketing plan? What does it mean for my business? So let's break it down. Marketing is your company talking about itself. So you're talking about your technology, your product, your team, your business. PR is slightly different, right? With PR, you're trying to get other people to talk about your business, and that's fantastic. It gives you great reach, and it gives you a sort of independent third-party validation for what you do. Super important when you're early stage, especially. And then we have thought leadership. And thought leadership is different, because with thought leadership, you, as in you, not your company, talk about the things that your customer cares about, which is their business, their industry, the challenges, the trends, the threats they face in the work that they do. And it's really important, because what you're able to do is you're able to prioritize the problem that you solve in your customer's mind. And
it also, investors as well, I think, often now need to kind of get out there and prove them their worth. Do they not, Miles, from the perspective of an investor?
We've got great founders that are academic engineers, and they're excited about the technology, but that doesn't really solve a problem for a customer. And I think thought leadership is about sort of really connecting, telling stories, and connecting with your customers and showing how you actually solve that problem.
Because I think the founder can get in a very sort of kind of in a kind of tunnel, as it were, about the product, and they're insanely obsessed with the product and kind of forget about how to communicate it.
When we started this company, obviously it's complex, and my background's in engineering, and so I have a tendency to steer into talking about the tech side of things. And actually, by focusing on storytelling to people who are non-technical, I found that not only were customers far more interested, most of them don't care that you have the highest speed algorithms and that you use these neural networks and these this infrastructure to power it. We got a lot more interest, both from investors but also from customers as well. So by telling stories in a sort of a non-promotional way, and in a way that more talks about where we think the world is going and where we think the industry is going, we're able to attract a lot more interest, also because you're not being a pushy salesman.
The storytelling is obviously becomes a big feature when you do have a story and a backstory. And Ben Williams with Loopin, you've got quite a unique story, haven't you? You know, you're a former Navy commando, so special forces. You've been in the field, shall we say. And your company, Loopin, is very much about leadership, isn't it? So not just thought leadership, but it's leadership inside companies. And so if anybody's going to talk about, have a backstory and a hinterland to talk about a company, you pretty much have.
Talking about morale is a big passion of mine. You know, when it's low, it's low. When it's up, and there's quite negative and positive consequences to both. And not long ago, we were in the wrong field with our company, and we were looking at the wrong market and concentrating on the wrong thing, and none of us felt passionate about the subject. So when the team at Thought Leader started really bringing it out of us, we could express ourselves differently, we could inspire our own team, let alone our customers, differently, and it was really impactful and effective for our business.
That certainly is someone who's been to the States a lot. I think a lot of North American founders are very pitch at a very high level, and their storytelling can be quite, very, very sort of rehearsed, shall we say. And in Europe and the UK, the rehearsal is better than it was 10, 15 years ago, and the pitch is better, but there's still a little, there's a few jagged edges here.
I definitely see that difference, and I think a lot of this comes back to storytelling as well, where you go back to the US, and there's I think the level of ambition is often higher, and I think it's also, I think with any culture as well, it's kind of the filters that someone applies their inner thoughts through, and I think with US entrepreneurs, they often are very bullish, they've got a great story, they're going to change the world, and I think Europeans generally are a little more conservative and sort of a little more kind of, we might do something interesting, versus the US kind of like, we're going to change the world, and so but actually underneath,
I've never heard that. That's a new one on me, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, tomorrow. Is there a temptation when you talk to clients and people you interact with, in terms of getting them over this hurdle of flipping between PR and marketing and into this kind of more sort of leadership role? Is there a temptation to tell them to diss the opposition?
One of the challenges that we have is that, just speaking really frankly, working with early stage particularly, but also with the enterprise clients we have, is moving the needle from marketing to thought leadership, because they're just not clear about what that is. So with marketing, people have got their messaging structures and it's all been thought out. With thought leadership, you have to think it out, but you also have to say something different, and you have to say it in your own voice as a founder or as a senior executive, and that is a big step for a lot of companies. They really struggle to say anything that actually has real meaning. They're very disruptive technologies that they're offering, but they don't want to say anything disruptive, and that's the hurdle, is getting our founders and our senior leadership teams that we work with to get comfortable with being a little bit uncomfortable.
Getting out in the market and telling your stories, it can punch above perhaps normal marketing, shall we put it that way. But is it any use for attracting talent?
Customers definitely care, especially if it's an innovative product. We're trying to plot a direction of travel rather than here's a thing that we're selling, and understanding the way that the world's going is really important for them. And so customers definitely care. For employees, one of the things that's really hard at any startup is focusing. It's because you can do whatever you want. You can do absolutely anything. You have all roads available to you. And what I found is that writing more, putting my writing out there, having people online that I don't know that are in the industry critiquing it is really valuable, and also it helps to focus the company, because people understand the reason that we're doing things.
Yeah, people by people. And I think when you look at thought leadership, as whether it's a customer or attracting talent, people buy into that story of, we're here to fix a problem and we're passionate about our problem and we really want to make a difference in the world and we love talking about our problem. Whereas if you're telling them a story and trying to bring them on that story with you, you get a completely different investment from the customer, but equally from those that you lead.
There must be a temptation to have hot takes on breaking news.
Wow.
So is your advice to talk about to go in for the hot take, or is that thought leadership, or is there something else going on?
Founders are like the Greek heroes of our time, okay? Odysseus and Achilles, right? Everyone is fascinated. Technology is so much part of our lives. We're fascinated by the people who make it happen, these outliers in our society. And, you know, so they have a tremendous power, but they have to use it super wisely. And that takes structure and expertise and advice and support. It's not wise to post too spontaneously, I think, with thought leadership, because it could go super well, but if you get it wrong, you can literally destroy your company. And I think just this is the big thing that stops people doing it more than anything else, is they have an awareness of that. They know when they post and say something interesting or disruptive that there could be an effect, and it's scary, so that they're sort of caught in inertia and they don't do anything, which is a shame, because thought leadership can be managed and can be done. Final
point I wanted to tease out of you before we do a little bit of Q&A is, do we have a view on generative AI? I mean, really what's going to happen is there is going to be a lot of stuff. Someone says, please write, dear ChatGPT, please write me a 500-word thought leadership piece on SaaS for accounting packages or God knows what. And thank you very much. Here it comes. And there's going to be a lot of this, isn't there? Any views on this?
GPT and other tools are amazing, fascinating, terrifying, awesome, potentially moving faster than anyone. But at the end of the day, who here really wants to read stuff that's been churned out by a chatbot? I don't want to be that chump, do you? I mean, people are there's a tsunami of pedestrian takes out there. Companies that would do one crap blog a month are now churning out 10. They're all over LinkedIn. And actually, weirdly, that over surplus of nonsense and dry stuff and boring, turgid, computer-generated blurb enhances the value of true thought leadership.
I think the takeaways that I've had from this evening are that actually thought leadership is a much bigger subject than I thought to begin with. I mean, as a journalist, you get pitched things all the time, and I'm looking for founders who have something to say. And it's clear that a lot of them don't really think about the kinds of messaging they want to get across. They kind of do a lot of selling. And selling isn't really the same as having ideas and having leadership opinions about something. And I think that's actually really important. It's going to help with them getting into the media and the press. And it's probably a lot more inspiring than a lot of the other approaches that they might try. Just selling, just marketing isn't enough. And usually I just cut all that stuff out. They've got to have substance. They've got to have authenticity. And it's much more likely that will make it into a piece than the alternative.